Hello and welcome to the first of a series of episodes called Classic Motorsport Podcast. I'm Gareth Thomas and today the story is the Williams FW14B. So for those that are listening on audio, it'd be Spotify, Google Podcasts, Radio Public and a couple more. For those that are watching on video, it is, YouTube and Daymotion. The story of the FW14B, which went through 1992. So, the original car, the FW14, was raced in 1991, born out of necessity, because 1989 and 1990 proved competitive but underachieved in their own and their engine supplier Renault's eyes. In the original FW14 semi-automatic gearbox, but by 1992 they've developed where they got active suspension, traction control, and they got themselves tested and ready. And when they did back-to-back tests, they found out that it was slower in a straight line, so they had to get a button on the steering wheel so that the car can go push down. So it was developed, and when they went to the opening race of 1992 in South Africa, the first race in South Africa after apartheid, and it proved to be dominant for Mansell, where he won the race from Patrese, but everybody thought that the McLarens might give a fight when Ayrton Senna and Gail Berger put it second and third in between the two Williamses. However, Mansell made a good start, as did Patrese, but they did not use traction control. They were concerned whether it be affecting the engine. But Mansell won by 24 seconds over Patrese, with Senna third, 34 seconds behind. 3 weeks after South Africa, they went to Mexico, and that was the last race they went to Mexico for 23 years. And once again, the two Williamses were dominant in qualifying, almost a second ahead of Michael Schumacher's Benetton, and over 2 seconds faster than Martin Brundle's Benetton. And it proved to be with Mansell 12 seconds ahead of Patrese and 21 seconds, with Schumacher third, 9 seconds behind Patrese. So 2 races in, 2 wins for Mansell, 2 second places for Patrese. Everybody were flabbergasted. 2 weeks after Mexico, they went to Brazil. So McLaren were thinking, how are we going to get Williams slowed down? So they decided to bring their new MP47A. They had massive testing at Silverstone, and fortunately it proved to be a race too early for McLarens, because they had 6 different McLarens, 3 of which were the MP47s, 3 of which were the MP46Bs, but somehow Mansell and Patrese were still fastest again. Mansell fastest by over a second from Patrese and 2 seconds faster than Senna. And in the race, Mansell and Patrese were first and second, with almost 30 seconds between them, and lapped the entire field. That's how dominant it was. The problem was, part of that was down to Senna holding up Schumacher, so that's why there was a lap on the field. However, you usually see 4 weeks in a summer break in current Grand Prix. However, there was a 4-week gap between Brazil and Spain for the Spanish Grand Prix. It was advertised as Grand Prix of the Olympics because it was held months before the Summer Olympics in Barcelona. And in qualifying, Mansell was on pole ahead of Schumacher by a second. Patrese was 1.3 seconds slower in fourth. Mansell went on to win ahead of Schumacher and John Alesi's Ferrari, but it wasn't easy. Patrese spun off. Schumacher clawed down Mansell, but Mansell used some tricks in the steering wheel of the Williams with the active suspension system to make it an easy win 4 out of 4. And it was so wet that even the most experienced of Rainmasters like Senna went off the road. And then to Imola, 2 weeks after Spain. 5 out of 5 for Mansell on pole, ahead of Patrese in second by a second. Although, despite an aborted start due to Carl Wengler's March stalling, the two Williamses dominated ahead of an exhausted Senna in third. And after the race, it was an all-Williams affair on the podium, as Senna was so exhausted he was taken to the medical centre. But the dominance of the Williams got everyone thinking, how are we going to chase them down? The only track they could have done was Monaco. And it was once again an all-Williams affair with Mansell ahead of Patrese, Senna third on the grid over a second down, and at the start Senna passed Patrese, and it was basically looking like a Mansell victory. But on lap 70, Mansell had a puncture and was 5.2 seconds behind Senna, who had been leading, and for lap after lap Mansell tried everything to pass Senna, but Senna went on to win the race. Senna's first win in Monaco, and at the time an equal record 5th win, which at the time tied him with Graham Hill. And it proved to be an exciting race. Patrese third, 31 seconds behind Senna and Mansell. Then to Canada, and for the only time that year, Senna took pole position ahead of Patrese and Mansell. And during the race, it proved to be one of the most difficult and controversial ones. Lap after lap, Senna held off Mansell, and then Mansell tried to pass Senna around the outside of the chicane, but forced out wide by Senna and retired. Patrese also retired due to gearbox issues, and the race was won by Gail Berger ahead of Schumacher and Alesi. Berger at the time driving for McLaren. Then over to France. Despite being 3 weeks after the Canadian Grand Prix, it was quite good. However, teams had to navigate through blockades by French lorry drivers, which not only Williams but other teams were affected. Andrea Moda had to withdraw as a result of it all, but the two Williamses were over a second ahead of Senna, with Mansell ahead of Patrese, and then Patrese led Mansell at the start, and then a red flag, and then team orders came in. Yep, there were team orders. Patrese was forced to hand over the lead to Mansell, and Mansell went on to win by 46 seconds over Patrese, and over a minute and 12 seconds ahead of Brundle in third. And then to Silverstone. And in qualifying, Mansell was almost 2 seconds ahead of Patrese and almost 3 seconds ahead of Senna in third. And yep, it was the first time that Damon Hill, then Williams' test driver, qualified in a Brabham. Yep, those Brabhams were rubbish at the time. Mansell went on to win by almost 40 seconds ahead of Patrese and almost 50 seconds ahead of Brundle. But after the race, fans invaded the circuit even when drivers were on their last lap, and Mansell was mobbed for the second time by fans blocking the route, the first time of which was 1987, and that's when track officials managed to rescue Mansell, and basically after that track invasions were banned. Luckily though, the win still stood, with Mansell ahead of Patrese. And then over to Germany, where once again Mansell ahead of Patrese by 3/10 and over second over Senna, and at the start Patrese led but Mansell quickly got past. Both Williamses pitted. That meant Senna was in the lead, but Mansell was forced off by Senna in the Oscar chicane and then got past that following chicane, and then Patrese was stuck for lap after lap behind Schumacher, and then a mistake by Schumacher allowed Patrese to go through, but then tried to pass Senna for lap after lap, and then on the last lap tried to pass, but he got spun around after having contact with Senna, first forcing Senna in second and Schumacher in third. So that meant Mansell, heading into Hungary, had 86 points to Patrese's 40. 5 races to go, Mansell could win the title. So, into Hungary, everyone was sort of about, can Mansell win the title? But Mansell had been through it before. In 1986, he was on course for the title when the tyre exploded at 200 miles an hour in Adelaide. In 1987, he was qualifying at Suzuka when he crashed and broke a vertebrae. In 1991, he was chasing down Senna in Suzuka when he spun off. So, can he do it this time? But Patrese took pole, ahead of Mansell by a tenth, and Senna was 7 tenths behind. And then in the race, Patrese led by over 20 seconds. Mansell, having been dogged by both Senna and Berger, got past Berger and then stuck behind Senna for lap after lap, and then Patrese spun, which meant that if Patrese rejoined, Mansell would have to pass Senna, but Patrese's engine exploded, and that meant Mansell was in championship position. However, there was another twist to the tail. Mansell had only like 5 psi in his tyre. That meant a puncture, so he had to bring the Williams in for a tyre stop and was stuck in 6th position. So it was helped when Michael Schumacher's rear wing on his Benetton collapsed after contact with Martin Brundle earlier in the race, and then got past Brundle and then Hakkinen, and then although he had already third place was safe, he got past Berger in the second to make sure the championship was safe, which he did by winning the title by finishing second behind Senna, who had won his second race of the year 40 seconds ahead of Mansell. Then to Belgium. The Ardennes forest can cause unpredictability, and it did when Senna and Schumacher qualified second and third behind Mansell, with Patrese fourth. Patrese was 3 seconds back on Mansell on Friday, despite not setting a time on Saturday. And in the race, Senna got ahead of Mansell at the start, and at this point, Senna had at that point the same traction control system that the Williamses were using. The only other team that had active suspension was Lotus, because they were also using it that season as well. And most of the teams were using semi-automatic gearboxes. And then by lap 3, Senna passed Mansell, but Mansell pitted by the end of the lap to get on wets, as did most of the field. Senna stayed out, which proved costly, putting him down to 12th. Mansell tried to get past Lacey, but spun him out. Lacey had a puncture. Mansell continued on. Mansell went on to lead, but then an undercut by Michael Schumacher after he went wide and accidentally let his teammate Martin Brundle through, led Schumacher to pit early and leaving Mansell and Patrese to pit 2 laps after him. That meant a charge by Mansell. However, he ended up having exhaust problems. Thus, his engine went down to 7 cylinders or so, and had to be in second behind Schumacher, who scored his first Grand Prix win on the circuit that he made his debut 1 year before. Patrese was third, once again having engine problems, with Brundle fourth. That meant, with Williams second and third, Williams got the constructors. And then at Monza, Mansell qualified on pole ahead of Senna and John Alesi's Ferrari, with Patrese fourth. However, there was rumours that weekend whether or not Mansell would stay. Williams had already signed Aaron Prost for 1993, and according to Mansell, that Williams offered him less money to stay in 1993. But then they come up at the last minute to give him the offer, but it was already too late. On Sunday morning, Mansell announced his retirement to head to IndyCar with Newman Haas, but he will see off the season of 92 with Williams. Mansell led at the start, and by lap 14 Patrese passed both Senna and Alesi in second, but Mansell let Patrese through because with the loyalty that he did in 92, Patrese should have won. But first off, Mansell had hydraulic problems, and then Patrese had also hydraulic problems, which went Senna won from Brundle and Schumacher, who came back after a broken front wing. Then to Portugal. The news was confirmed for Mansell, and there was also news that at that same time that Patrese was going to Benetton to partner Schumacher and replace Brundle. That meant the second Williams seat was left open, which Damon Hill would later take over. Mansell led and won, ahead of Berger by 37 seconds and Senna by a lap. Patrese had a scary accident with Berger on the pit straight, where he went into the back of Berger, and it was super scary, the accident. And then to Japan, where once again Mansell and Patrese were so brilliant, and then in the race Mansell let Patrese through on lap 36. Patrese won, but Mansell had problems. He had his engine go, and that was the end of his race. Then from Japan to Australia, Mansell ahead of Senna, and then Patrese in third. In the warm-up, Mansell had an engine change, so less time, and then it was an immediate fight between Mansell and Senna, and then the Williams' superior active suspension went ahead. But then both Mansell and Senna were stuck behind Nicola Lowini's Ferrari, who had come in at the last minute as a replacement for the already fired Ivan Capelli. Lowini held up both Mansell and Senna went in at the back of Mansell, taking both drivers out. Both were fuming at each other. Patrese led, and then his hydraulics went. Berger then took the lead, but then was chased by Schumacher due to fuel issues, but Berger went on to win the race from Schumacher and Brundle. At the end of 92, Mansell had 108 points to win the title, with Patrese second with 56, with Schumacher third in 53, and Senna in fourth with 50, and Berger fifth on 49. Constructors, Williams won with 164 points, with McLaren second on 99 and Benetton third on 91. How dominant was it? Too dominant. I have to say that was possibly the most dominant year Williams has ever seen. There was good viewers during 1992 in the UK for BBC television, mostly for Sunday grandstand coverage, which was shown at the time, and also good views as well, as it was Mansell's last season as a full-time F1 driver. Although he did come back in 94 and 95, 94 in a substitution role, 95 as part-time, despite him retiring midway through the season. So, can we see more dominance in F1 in the future? This is Gareth Thomas, and it's goodbye.